Unit 3, Lesson 10 homework with me, Miss Billman. Don't tell anyone, but I actually think I like multiplying and dividing fractions more than adding and subtracting. So, secrets between me and you. I know I actually mentioned it in another video on here, but let's take a look at this. So, my first problem is 3/8 multiplied by 10. So, we gotta remember that when I have a whole number, I can write it over 1. That only goes for whole numbers though. So I couldn't write, 3/8 over 1. That wouldn't be a thing. But when I have a whole number, it's like imagining pizzas that have never been cut into slices that are just whole. They're considered one piece of the whole thing, and I have 10 of them. In this case, number 2, I'd have 11 of them. But any whole number like that, I can write over 1. So when I multiply a fraction with another fraction, in this case it's a whole number, I multiply straight across. So I have 30 over 8. Now, I could write that. We talked a lot about writing your fraction. In this case, it doesn't say write in, lowest or simplest form, but writing it and then finding the simplest form. And you can always circle it on like a quiz. You can circle it and say, hey, yeah, this is my final answer, and then try to simplify it so we can know the difference. So I have 3 as my whole number, and I have 3 6/8. But I can actually simplify that more into 3 3/4. Number 2, 7/8 multiplied by 11. So I set it up 7/8 multiplied by 11 over 1, multiply straight across, 77 over 8, and I can use long division to solve. So 8 can go in there 9 times, 72. 77 minus 72 is 5, so 9 5/8. 4/5 multiplied by 12. 4/5 multiplied by 12 over 1. I multiply straight across. I get 48 over 5. I could write that answer, or I can simplify, and I can use long division to do that by dividing 5 into 48. I have 9, and that's 45. I have 3 left over as my remainder, so that would become my numerator, with 5 as my denominator, so 9 3/5. 9 over 1, and I'm going to use a different color for each row just so we can tell the difference. 9 over 1 multiplied by 2 over 3. Even though my whole number is in the first number spot, that's okay. It's still 9 over 1. I get 18 over 3, which a simplified answer would be 6. 10 multiplied by 5/7. 10 over 1 multiplied by 5/7. 10 multiplied by 5 is 50. And 7 multiplied by 1 is 7. So I can divide this, and 7 would go in there 7 times, because 7 multiplied 7 is 49, and I would have 1 left over as my remainder, so 7 1/7. 2 over 1 multiplied by 3/5. I multiply straight across. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. 1 multiplied by 5 is 5. And I could leave it 6/5, or I can simplify, I can use division to do so. And it would be 5 on the outside, so my whole number is 1. My remainder is the one that's left over, and my 5 stays my denominator. So just things to identify. We used a lot of remainder earlier in this unit, but now we can see how it gets set up in a fraction. So 1 1/5. So number 7, I'm going to go ahead and change my color because I can. I'm going to multiply straight across, and I'm going to make a line that I don't know what the purpose is. So 2/3 multiplied by 6/7. I multiply straight across, and I get 12 over 21. Now, it always looks like I could leave it this way because you're like, whoa, those numbers don't have things in common, but they actually do. They have the number 3. So 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 3 goes into 21 7 times, for an answer of 4/7. For some odd reason, 12 and 21 never look like they have something that they share, but they actually do. 5/8 multiplied by 1/3, and I get 5 over 24. Final answer. Number 9, 4/7 multiplied by 5/7. I multiply straight across, and I get 20 over 49. Number 10, I'm going to switch my number, It's 1 2/9 multiplied by 2 1/3. When I have numbers like this, I like to turn it into an improper fraction. That's just what I get in the habit of doing. That's the strategy I use. So remember, we take our denominator and we multiply it by our whole number, and then we add our numerator. So 11/9 multiplied by 7/3, because 3 multiplied by 2 plus 1 is 7. So 7/3. I end up getting 77/27. Now I can divide this, or I could keep it at 77/27. I can divide it knowing 27's like almost 25, just a little bit more. So if I did the number 3, I'd probably have too much. So I'm going to try the number 2, which 7 multiplied by 2 is 14, carry the 1. And 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. I subtract, and I have 23 left over. So I could say 2 and 23/27, or I could say 77/27. I'm going to use that same strategy to solve number 11. So it's 14/5 multiplied by 25/8. When I have a number like 14 and 25, I'm definitely going to pull it off to the side of my paper or a whiteboard, you pick, voice and choice, and I'm going to multiply. Or I could remember that 4/4 is equal to $1, 100. So if I had 14 of those, I could do it that way. Multiple strategies, your choice, up to you. There's no wrong way to get the right answer. Unless it's copying, that would be the wrong way. But I like to think we're working together. So 350/40, I can divide them by 10 and get 35/4. And then I can divide. Or I could leave it at 35/4. Again, your voice and choice, because this does not say simplify. It is really, really important to get in the habit of practicing it, though. So 8 3/4 is my final answer. 4 1/6 is 25/6 multiplied by 12/5. And you have me thinking again, what the what? Why did you do this? So it should actually be, I'll get the numerator, so it should be 300/30 with a final answer of, not this very clearly, but you can tell here, I totally use my numerator as my denominator. I think it was just in the habit of it. I'll put a box with the right answer over this. So again, these computational errors strike again. Miss Pillman, attend to precision. That's okay. I'm gonna not lose sleep over that. Dear math students, this summer I am going to earn money mowing lawns. I can mow 2/3 of a lawn in 1 hour. My friend told me that if I work for 5 hours, I can multiply 5 and multiply that by 2/3 to find the number of lawns I've mowed. But I said that in 5 hours, I'd mow 2/15 of a lawn. Does my answer seem reasonable? Your friend, Puzzled Penguin. Things phrased with the seem reasonable is pretty common when you take the SBA, so let's work through this. Now, how did he get 15? Well, it seems like he, the Puzzled Penguin, didn't really look at the setup of this. So I'm going to write back to Puzzled Penguin, but I do want to revisit this equation that I wrote up here. So, dear Puzzled Penguin, you definitely didn't get the right answer, right? So I'm thinking that he multiplied the 5, which is the numerator, that the whole number that we're looking at. It would be 5/1, and he did 5 multiplied by 3, which I was definitely a Puzzled Penguin on number 12. So instead of multiplying the 5/1 by the 2/3 and getting 10/3, he ended up multiplying 2/3 by 1/5. And that's the attending to precision that I, Ms. Billman, messed up on too. So far I wrote, Dear Puzzled Penguin, you multiplied the 3 in the denominator by 5 instead of representing the 5 as 5/1 and multiplying straight across, which we've been practicing the entire time through this. So again, he took this as, 5 1/5, multiply that by 2/3, get 2/15, which the answer is not reasonable. The true answer would have been 5 over 1 multiplied by 2 over 3. So 5 multiplied by 2 is 10. 1 multiplied by 3 is 3. And I can simplify that by doing 3 and 1/3, because I would divide my 10 by 3, and I could check my answer too. So I could check it by doing 3 multiplied by 3 plus 1 is equal to 10 over 3. So you could do that many lines. So minus number 12, I think I got this down.